In this video, we will be looking at Tony Pollard blocking and can he block. The willing to block is part of the deal there. You got to be willing to block. Get in the way, make sure that you save your quarterback, keep him upright. And of course, the narrative speaks volumes of Tony Pollard can't block. And that's the reason why you don't give him running back snaps. And that is a myth. Tony Pollard can get in the way and he can block. And I believe that the Cowboys should utilize Tony Pollard more heading into the 2022 season. Now, granted, when you talk about Tony Pollard overall skill set, of course, he was averaging 5.5 yards per carry. In parts of the season, he was averaging right at 7.2 yards per carry. Now, what the Cowboys should do is figure out a way to utilize both running backs, Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I believe both guys can work out together, but the Cowboys gave the bulk of the share of the carries to Ezekiel Elliott, and we didn't get a chance or an opportunity to evaluate Tony Pollard properly. From a fan perspective, yes, flash in the pan, you can see that Tony Pollard, the explosive one, able to crease out on the edge and make an inch and turn it into a mile, basically. And of course, the wiggle aspect of Ezekiel Elliott was dismissed, of course, after the Carolina Panthers game. And that information was not shared to us about the PCL tear until after the season. So now we are wondering to ourselves, who else was injured through the season, and if this was the only thing that was leaked out. But when we look at the information as it relates to the All-22 and looking at the blocking ability, yes, we can see that Tony Pollard is a willing blocker, and blocking is more so of mentality. Can you get in the way? Can you make sure that you save your quarterback? And I believe in the hearts of hearts, Tony Pollard is just that guy. Now, fast forwarding to the 2022 season altogether, what should the Cowboys do with the running back situation and scenario? I got an idea. Maybe, just maybe, somebody sit Kellen Moore down and say, hey, you got two running backs. There's nothing wrong with utilizing both of the guys as it relates to running the rock and putting both guys in the backfield at the same time. Let's create a system and a scheme with both running backs that can get the opposing teams out of that 6 DB look or whatever variations of quarters that they play. And maybe, just maybe, you will see a little bit more production out of your quarterback. Now, the offensive line was in shambles, right? And we really need to have a conversation with this offensive line of what the Cowboys should do. And I believe you move La'el Collins back at left guard. You replace La'el Collins at right tackle with Terrence Steele. And you revisit all of these things and have that heart-to-heart conversation with what you got in the reality bubble of the offensive line, and you still go into this draft and drafting at least one offensive lineman in this draft. You revisit Josh Ball and see what he can do. And on top of that, you look back at this offensive line and say, okay, now we got depth. Now we just made some changes. Whereas we know for sure, La'el Collins, he never gave up a sack inside, right? So you work that out. And then on top of that, we know for sure for 6 games, you had a hot Terrence Steele. We will see, can you rekindle that fire and get back to the right things as it relates to this Cowboys team, especially with Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, and that front 5. We must establish that, the core. Post me your thoughts, post me your concerns of everything. But like I said, this team, Tyron Smith, you still look at Josh Ball for this offseason to see what he can do. And then you move La'el Collins back at guard. And of course, Tyler Biadasz, we will see what he looks like going into basically his 2nd year. But although this will be his 3rd year now, but we will see what he can do playing at center. And of course, Zach Martin, we'll see what we got out of him. And of course, Terrence Steele, we look at him at right tackle. All of those things can be circumvented by still drafting an offensive lineman. And then on top of that, during this free agent process, there should be a good guy out there somewhere that you can squeeze in on the offensive line, a veteran guy, to bring in for a cup of coffee. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. DC for life. Salute.